Hey, hi. I do not know how to properly start videos like this. I promise I'm not going to get sappy or emotional, but the title of this video is no exaggeration. I know what you're probably thinking just reading the title alone. Why is this game, of all games, so special to you compared to all the other great video games out there in the world? And that is true. There are many incredible video games, both big and small, that will go down in history for being either great works of art and artistic expression, or just incredibly fun and entertaining. The majority of gamers do have this one game that fundamentally changed them as a person and influenced them for better or worse. You could say the same thing about something you love. Just know that I am no different in this regard. But with that being said, I am Distic. Just Distic, and welcome to Just Shapes and Beats, a video game that changed my life, and the best part about it is that I wouldn't have it any other way. Now, because every video is somebody's first, before I get into this game and how it changed my life, I would like to go over what this game is objectively speaking, because I am very biased on everything else regarding this game. Just Shapes and Beats is a rhythm-based bullet hell game with minimalistic neon epileptic graphics and a chiptune EDM soundtrack. It was made by Berserk Studios, a Canadian indie game studio, and was mostly created by this madman, which for dyslexic purposes, I can't say the name in this script. It's available on PC and consoles, and it does go on sale occasionally. So if you haven't played this game yet, and if you're interested in checking it out for yourself, I recommend you stop watching this video right now and go experience this game for yourself. But to those of you who are more skeptical of this game, all I am going to say is that if you are not on board with any of the things I mentioned earlier in this video, nothing I will say from this point forward will convince you otherwise. The reason why this game is called Just Shapes and Beats is because what you see and hear is what you get. It is literally as advertised. However, it's the execution that makes it all so enjoyable. The majority of this game's content can be found in the game's story mode. If you're good at this game, it should only take you 2 hours, give or take. The story of this game takes place in a plane of existence where shapes are influenced by music and vice versa. Be gone, sucks! There's nothing deep or intricate about this game's actual story or plot, but it does not need any of that. Rhythm games are not known for their stories, if they even have any in the first place. What this game's story mode does more than anything else is keep the player from getting bored. The story mode is just one big overworld that exists just to connect all the levels and boss fights this game has. But there are so many twists and turns. The overworld can feel like a level in and of itself, and the player can forget that this is just an overworld and nothing more. There are so many ways the story mode subverts expectations and keeps the player engaged, but I do not want to get into all of that because, again, I do want you to play this game for yourself. With that being said, let's get into the actual gameplay. The gameplay is very simple on the surface. Move around the screen and dash through pink objects and projectiles, and that's all you really need to know. If you're good at pattern recognition and mechanical intensity, you will be a natural at this game. The main gameplay loop is playing through these levels, dodging pink shapes that are in sync to whatever music is playing, and getting to the end of the level where there is a triangle waiting to be collected. There are also boss fights that are incredibly well put together, and my only complaint about them is that I wish there was more of them. One of the many things I like about this game is that it, despite looking incredibly challenging, is very forgiving to casual players, while still offering a challenge to those who need it. You get 3 hit points and 3 lives to get through tracks, and all levels have checkpoints. Boss fights do not have checkpoints, but you get 6 hit points instead of 3. There's even a party mode where you can just enjoy the game's content, where death is just a little inconvenience and doesn't mean anything. And there is a casual actual mode in the settings just for the story mode that gives you a ridiculous amount of health for levels and bosses. So effectively, you can suck at the game and still have a fun time. But make no mistake, this game goes from casual and forgiving to tough as nails when we get into hardcore mode and the ranking system. The game has two difficulty settings: normal mode and hardcore mode. Hardcore mode is just like normal mode, but objects and projectiles are faster, bigger, more numerous, as well as certain aspects of the levels and bosses being changed to make them more difficult. As for the ranking system, it goes like this. S ranks are for beating a track without getting hit. A ranks are for beating a track without dying. B ranks are for beating a track without dying more than once. And as for C, well, you just suck. There's no easy way of saying it. Get better. These are the rankings for me as of me recording this video. It's the reason why this video took so long to make, and it's the reason why I do not have a girlfriend. This game also has a challenge mode with both local and online multiplayer. The challenge is to get through 2 random levels that you get to pick and a boss fight that the game picks for you in one run without dying 3 times on any track. The reward for completing these challenge runs is getting beat points, which can be used to unlock tracks in the in-game playlist that are not in the story mode, and there is quite a lot of them. Each rank after beating a track gives you beat points. The better your rank, the more beat points you get. The hardcore difficulty doubles the amount of beat points you get, so if you are like me and have no friends who want to play games with you, you can just do a bunch of hardcore challenge runs and grind out the game at a decent pace. You also just get better at the game indirectly. Again, another reason why this video took so long to make. I played this game non-stop on the PS4 when it came out, but because I switched to Xbox, I had to get back all my progress and more just to make this video. If you don't count having perfect ranks on everything, I basically 100%'ed this game. That is, until the next update comes around, which I believe is going to take a while. This game has gone 3 years without an official update, so I do not want to get my hopes up on it happening anytime soon. Alright, time to address the most important aspect of any rhythm game or rhythm-based game, the soundtrack. Here is a list of all the music artists and labels featured in this game. Pretty impressive, isn't it? The soundtrack as a whole is a brilliant blend of chiptune, EDM, dubstep, and a bit of rock and roll. The game's original music was created by Danimal, Shirobon, and Kubbi. The rest of the game's soundtrack is licensed. Normally, in video games, and this includes rhythm games too, licensed music is usually an afterthought, due to a lack of musical creativity or vision in the game's development. And most rhythm games do fall into this as well. Thankfully though, this is something that is usually only associated with Western AAA gaming companies and does not reflect video game music, let alone the video game music scene as a whole. The best part about Just Shapes and Beats is that the game plays into the strengths of its sound selection. Most levels fit the style of the music that is playing to a T, and every moment in the story mode is amplified by the music. It could either be incredibly intense or very emotional and calm. Sometimes the music is cut and edited to fit whatever is happening on screen, so the game does not completely bend to the music, and the music doesn't completely bend to the game. Just Shapes and Beats has received many updates after its launch, adding brand new tracks to the game in updates called mixtapes, and has done official crossovers with both Shovel Knight and Undertale. I actually found out about Shovel Knight through this game's crossover update, and I am a happier gamer because of it. I will make videos on Shovel Knight at some point. I can't wait to play Shovel Knight Dig later this year. Now, I know my opinion does not matter, and that is a good thing, but because this game means a lot to me and I want to see it get better over time, these are my personal requests / feedback for future content updates. These are my top 5 tracks that I want to see in this game. When it comes to crossovers, I would love to see a crossover for The Messenger and or Crypt of the Necrodancer, both great games with underrated OSTs. I would also appreciate it if the track Count 5 and Die, which was scrapped from the game, be officially put into the game, maybe polish up the level to be of the same quality as the rest of the levels. As for indie game features, I would love to have a mode where I can only beat a level if I get a rank S on it, where I die in one hit and the track automatically restarts without me having to pause the game and manually restart it myself. Name it something like Try Hard mode and put it underneath casual mode in the settings. I would also like there to be an alternative use for beat points beyond just unlocking songs, because they are useless once you unlock all the songs in the playlist. Maybe they could be used to unlock some alternative shapes or skins to play as. I'm sure you could put some cameos in there, and that's really all I can think of in terms of what is actually possible on an indie game budget. And I know there are a lot of people who want this game to have its own public level editor, like Geometry Dash does, but honestly, I do not believe that is possible. But I do believe that if there is one thing me and every other person who has played this game and enjoyed it can agree on, is that we wish there was more game to play. If you remove the grinding, this game is incredibly short, but it has no filler. We just wish there was more, because contrary to this game's message, after you have done everything there is to do, it's over. There is nothing else to enjoy. I know I'm a 2000s kid, but I promise I'm not the kind of gamer that can't move on from a particular game and play something else. I got so many games that I have played, and they have been amazing. And there are ones I have yet to play, and I'm going to make videos on all of them. But there will always be games that will stay with me because of the impact that they had on me. And besides, it's only human nature to cling on to things of the past. I could go on and on about all the cool little details this game has. The multiplayer aspects, the ability to upgrade the main menu by doing optional challenges, or how my favorite music artist created an exclusive track just for this game. But before this video ends, I do want to answer the question of how this game changed my life. Please skip to this timestamp if you don't want to hear any personal stuff about me. Back when I was younger, my life was not the best. To oversimplify, my parents got divorced when I was young and fought over the lives of me and my siblings in court for over 6 years. I never got properly educated or introduced to things like the internet, and I was mostly left to figure all this stuff out on my own. It also did not help that I had no friends for a very long time. In those days, I desperately needed a distraction. I got into gaming way later than most people my age. Back then, I was not as knowledgeable or cultured about things like art and music as I am now, but I did, and still have to this day, a obsessive personality that latches onto anything that I find interesting. I used to watch unedited playthroughs of indie games on YouTube with no commentary because for a long time I could not afford a console. When I was 14, I officially got into console gaming with a PS4 so I could play Little Nightmares, a game that I also hold very close to my heart and will definitely be making more videos on in the future. Later, in the late 2010s, I discovered Just Shapes and Beats on YouTube and almost instantly became obsessed with it. I bought it as soon as it came out on the PS4 and spent so many sleepless nights playing it non-stop. At the time, I never cared about 100% completion or grinding out a game and moving on to the next. I was just having a fun, good time. The game influenced everything I did creatively for a very long time. It got me into drawing more. It helped me start caring about my own fashion sense, and it helped me develop my music tastes. Before this point, I never was really invested in EDM, let alone music in general. All the music I had ever been exposed to before video game music as as a kid was either classical, country, or whatever pop music was big around the 2000s and 2010s. And while I was eventually exposed to music from Geometry Dash, with artists like MDK and F777, artists I still listen to this very day, I never appreciated music as much as I did with video games, and always thought of them as separate. This game changed all of that. It exposed me to over 26 artists and 3 music labels, as well as showing me how impactful music can be in video games. Because remember, Just Shapes and Beats is not a rhythm game the same way Guitar Hero or Just Dance or Beat Saber is a rhythm game. It is a rhythm-based game, where the music impacts both the player and the game equally, and is not just the sole component of the gameplay. Not only did it tie my love of gaming to my new love of music, but it also defined what I like to hear in music in the first place. It was one of the biggest distractions from the most stressful and depressing years of my life, and was one of the biggest influences to the style that I have to this very day. The just in Justadistic comes from this game. If that does not show you how much this game means to me, I do not know what will. I am so unbelievably grateful to exist in the same timeline as games like this, along with other amazing indie games that I hold very close to my heart and soul. Thank you, Berserk Studio, from the bottom of my heart. Justistic would not be here without your creativity, inspiration, and dedication.